All right, we're going to walk through the process of grading both the building pad and the parking lot area. So we're going to use the provided feature line for our building pad. I've already set those elevations, and then I'm going to walk through the process of first converting that polyline to a feature line and then setting those elevations. Make sure you are probably be good to go ahead and make sure we're in the 2D layer here. So just to make sure when we add something, so go ahead and make that your current layer. All right, the first one we want to attempt is we're going to grade this building pad. And we'll go ahead and just look at these elevations. And right now, it has a building pad elevation of 401.5. And the reason I chose that is we look in here, I want it to be above the grade here. So I want it to be higher than this 400 contour. Okay. So the 401.5 contour kind of runs like this. So it's going to be built up a little bit. Okay, it's going to be close here, but it's definitely going to be above the existing ground. I want it to be that way so I don't have any water flowing straight into my building pad. All right, so we're going to go and we're going to click on grading here. We're going to pull up the grading creation tool. Okay, and you'll notice that it is targeted to the existing grade. We want to make sure we're grading to a surface. And we'll go ahead and create some grades. Okay, and we're using the site group grading here. I hit OK. And then it's looking for the feature line. And I'm going to select this feature line. I'm going to pick outside that line and click. And I do want to apply it to the entire length. And I'm going to use slope. So I'm going to accept that. The grade I want to use, the slope I want to use is, we'll do 4:1. And we'll also do 4:1 for my fill as well. And there it has generated the contour lines for that surface. All right, the next thing, since I've got my grades all around it, I want to do next is the infill. So I'm going to choose my create infill, and I'm going to pick right inside this feature line, and it has established the finished floor elevation on the inside now. It's no longer hollow. Okay, and I can exit out of that. So I've done all that grading. All right, and in fact, you can do a quick profile. So we'll do a quick profile. We'll just do P for points, and I'll just do one right through here and hit enter. And I want to make sure I've got existing grade and my site grade, and hit OK. And I'll put it up here and close that out, and there it is. That's my building pad elevation infilled, and you can see that it is above the existing grade. So that's all good. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to convert this into a feature line. Now, I have already drawn this for you. If you measure from this point to this point, it is 90 feet. So with 9-foot wide parking spots, okay, you can get 10 in here, okay? And if you measure the distance from here over to here, that's 20 feet. This distance here is my travel path or travel aisle. Okay, that's 26 feet, and again, the 20 feet. It's set back, I believe, 8 feet, and these are 5-foot radiuses here. I've got 5-foot radiuses here as well. Okay, so that would be enough for 20 parking spaces. Okay. All right, so now let's look at this parking area, and I want to, first off, I got to convert this to a feature line. All right, so I'm going to come in here, I'm going to choose feature line, I'm going to choose create feature line from object. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select that and hit enter. I'm going to name this, we'll keep this on here, I'm going to name this one lot, just for understand. We're going to use the basic feature style. I am going to assign the elevation here. All right. And the elevation I'm going to assign this to, okay, is 401 I'm going to use. And the reason I want to do that is I want to start with at least an elevation. The reason I picked 401 is coming in along here. And I want water to flow and get in there. So this top will be 401. So it's cut a little bit into this area here. And I don't want to have to assign all the spots on my feature line, but I want to start with all of them at 401, and then I'm going to modify the feature line's elevation points in there so that it flows in this direction. Okay, so we're going to hit OK. And then when asked to assign it, I'm going to say, okay, it's going to be from that, and I'm going to put in 401 there. Okay, and then I'm going to click OK, and now it's a feature line. And I'm going to click on this feature line, and let's do our edit elevation. So here we go. And here are my elevations. Okay, and everything's at 401. But I don't want it at 401. And if you highlight on here, you can see where the triangle will be in relationship to the entry here. So you can see it comes across here. Now, I do want all these ones. You see these? I want all these to be at 401. But I'm going to modify the remainders so that it slopes. Okay? So all these here that you see will be 401. These three, 1, 2, and 3. And then if we jump to the other side. You'll notice these are kind of a mirror image there. Okay? All these will be 401. But what I want to change now is the slope from here to here. I want it to fall in this direction. Okay, so I've done the math for you. What we're going to do is we're going to fall a distance of 5 feet. Okay, so that's 5 feet, okay, that it's going to fall over a distance of 90 feet. Okay, and that works out to a little over 5.5%, which is good, and it also is close to what this is. So that's going to get, and if I'm going to cycle it one more. Okay, that's this elevation here, this triangle here. So I'm going to go from 401, and I'm going to change this elevation at 2 plus 24.56 to 396. Okay. All right. So then that gives me my fall all the way down of 5 feet. So that's a nice way of letting my water flow. I'm also going to change this elevation here. Okay, 309. I'm going to give it a half-foot fall. Okay. And we'll go with 395.5. Okay, and that will give it a decent fall there as well. Now, you'll notice that in these lengths here and the grade back and grade ahead are listed here, and so they're very helpful. Okay, so let's look at some of these right now. We just put this previous one in here. Let's see what this one was. 396. Okay, now the grade back was that 5.56. So from here to here, that's what that is there. Okay. And I just put in this elevation from here to here, and that works out to 3.33%. So that's a decent slope. So it would be a good idea for you to now pause the video, okay, after you see this. So I'm going to update this to all the elevations you should see. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'll update this, and then pause the video and change those yourself. All right, now that I've entered those, you can see all these elevations. And if you look at the percentage on my slopes, and these are between the points, they're all relatively minor. They're not huge. And they all have at least a 2% slope. Now, the ones that are flat are the ones up here. Okay, and this is fine. From here to here, that's flat. Okay, because that's fine because it's going in this direction. And all these in this area as well are flat, but everything is draining in this direction. Okay, so that's good. So go ahead, pause the video, make the changes as you see here, and then we will go ahead and add this this feature line to our surface that we just created. Okay. All right, now that you've made those changes to this feature line, we are going to add this as a break line to this surface. Okay, so let's go ahead and call up our surfaces on Prospector, and you can see here, go click on surfaces, and here we have our existing grade and our site grading. That's what I called this. Okay, and what we want to do is click on here to go down to definitions. Okay, and what we're going to do here on these definitions is I want to add to this. Okay, I want to give it more information. So what this allows us to do is add that feature line as a break line to further define what that surface is. In other words, I want it to be these points. Okay, so I'm going to click on break lines here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit add. Okay, and I'm going to add this as lots. Okay, this is for my lots. All right. Everything else will be standard. We'll keep that. We'll click OK, and then I select that feature line and hit return. And now it's added in this information as part of this surface. Now you can see the grades is still separate from it, but they're all blended in as that surface. Okay. Now there are some things that I don't like about this. There's a lot of, it's not coming back to this grade here. So we're going to add in another feature line, okay? And I will call this feature line limits, okay? But first I'm going to sketch it using a 2D polyline, okay? On 2D layout. So I'm going to go polyline, it's PL, and I'm just going to draw a line out here. I'm going to draw it up here, and I'm going to get a couple points in here. And think of this as the limits of my grading. Okay, I don't want it to extend past here. I'm going to go out here, come up here, and I'm going to close it. Okay, so it's just a simple polyline that I drew around here. And I'm going to use this, and I'm going to convert that to a feature line. All right, so again, I'm going to go feature line. I'm going to create from object. I'm going to select it. I'm going to return. Now, I'm going to call this one limits. Okay, so I'm going to go limits. Okay, basic feature line. Now, I am going to assign the elevation, but we're going to do it a little differently. What I want to do is I want to establish the elevation of this line from the existing grade there, because I don't want it to go past there. I want everything to meet that. So I hit OK. And I'm not going to assign this. I'm going to do it from the surface. Okay, I'm not going to force it to 401. I'm going to say pick it from the surface. Wherever this point is, take it from the surface. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK. And now it's a feature line. And if we click on it, go to our edit elevation, and you'll see that all these surfaces, you see it took all the information for surface to establish those elevations at every point on there. Okay, and now I'm going to add this feature line into my surface. So I can click on my surface. See, I got them over here on my break lines. I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to call this one limits now. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to select it. I'm going to select it now. Right click, and there it is. Now it has graded everything, and you see now how this line had come out and now it's coming back in. Okay, it's connecting back in, and it's actually pretty nice. It looks like a well-graded site. Okay, so now I've got my grading done. I've graded my parking lot. Okay, but let's say I want to add a little bit more to this. Let's say I want to have this have curb and gutter. Okay, so the what I want to do for that is I'm going to create a curb line. Okay, I'm gonna assume this line really represents the top of my curve. Okay, and I'm going to use the offset feature to offset it just a tenth of a foot. So that represents the face of a curve. And if you see here, here's an illustration of a standard barrier curve. And this point at the top here that you got here, that represents this line. Okay, and the point I'm at that's going to be created will represent the gutter line. So it'll be 6 inches lower. Okay, so to create that, what I want to do is I want to highlight this line. Okay, I'm going to choose this tool here. This is a step offset. In other words, it will create a copy of this, a certain distance specified off of this line, inside or outside. I'm going to do inside. And then it'll say, well, how do you want me to adjust the elevations? For me, I'm going to adjust it down 0.5, half a foot, because that's a 6-inch curve. So I'm going to click it. It's going to say specified distance to offset, and that's going to be 0.1. And then the side to offset, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. And then the difference in elevation is going to be minus 0.5. Okay? And there it is. That is a new feature line. Okay? And if I click on it and I look at my elevations for it, they're all 1/2 foot lower than the top of curve line here. That's exactly what I want. But you notice that it hasn't changed any of these contour lines. And the reason is it hasn't been put in as a break line yet. So I got to add it as a break line. I'm going to right click, add, and I'm going to choose to call this one gutter. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to click on this and select it. And now you can see where the contours have been adjusted. Okay, and that's how it looks with a contour line when it is a 1/2 foot drop. And that's actually perfect. The contour line actually runs across, comes down, and then shoots back and out because it's a 1/2 foot drop. Okay? And it did it for this whole thing. So there you go. I've now incorporated a curbing gutter in there. Okay? I can then add some information to this. Let's say, let's see, I want to document some things. I'm going to go in here, let's do some slopes, just to check some slopes, even though I saw that when I did the feature line. But let's see what the slope is. Pick 2 points here. So that's a 6.2. That's not bad. All right. I can check, say, slopes around here. I can check what those are. But that's particularly what I want to check. I want to check what my parking lot's doing there. So that's all good. I can also establish, let's do a spot shot right on here. So I'm going to click on the surface, and I'm going to add a spot shot, and just so it establishes my finished floor, and that's 402. That's perfect. That's the finished floor elevation there. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a volume surface. That volume surface will be between my existing and, of course, my site grading, which I did here, and that's this surface here. So how much, and I need to create that. So I'm going to just click on surface here. I'm going to do create surface. I'm going to change that to a tin volume surface. I'm going to name this one, we'll call it site grading volume. Okay, and even though it's not going to, and what we want to do is the base surface here, we're going to change that to existing grade. And the comparison surface, we want to change that to site grading, which we just created. Everything else is fine. We can keep our cut and fill factors at 1, hit OK. And there it is. It has created my grading volume for that. I can right click on that. And I can go to surface properties, and I go to my statistics, and I look at my volume, and there I go. And then I've got little bit of cut, 261, but I got a fill of 200 or 1,870. So it has a net volume of around 1,600. That's around a 2,000 cubic yard job, not really big. And that's how we do our volumes. All right. Now, another tool that's very useful to use, which I encourage you to use when you're doing these kind of things, and you can further refine this too. I could put in spot elevations if I wanted to on this grade here. So there are other ways. Like if I had a box here, I'd do that. But let's say I want to analyze this surface. I like using, so I'll click on the surface, and water drop is kind of cool, and that's all good, 2D polyline. And so I can click in here and say, oh, what happens if water falls here? And you'll notice here, the water comes in here, and you see this enclosed polyline for the contour. That's actually a depression there. So if I were to do this design, I would have to put a storm drainage box here. Okay? So, and that's exactly where it would go. Okay? In fact, I might even refine this grading to maybe make a low area a little bit further out here. Okay? To force it to be a little lower. Okay? I can further do some analysis of where this grading is. It's a nice little thing here. Okay, and let's say, okay, what happens when it falls, say, here, and it drains out. So whoop, goes right around the building. That's good. So I was just looking at what happened here, and that are two little areas. So very useful tool. So use those in those areas. And you can see, let's do another one, one more, surface and water drop. Okay, and let's say I have it and it's here, and it goes, that's filling there. Let's do one more, and okay, and I'll do, say, here, and there it is. This one comes in here, and let's see where this goes. This drains right along here, and you can see where there's a little bit of a ditch line being formed here, and that's where my water would go. And I might even put a box here to kind of intercept that water on there. All right? All right, so that's just an idea of how to do your grading using a combination of grading tools, infill, and also the offset on there. Before we go, let's do one more quick. We'll do a quick profile there. Let's do a quick profile. Do some points. And I'll do a similar path we did before. Just cut across here, enter. And yeah, I want everything there. I don't need the volume. Hit OK. And I'll put it down here. And there it is. Okay. And there is my grading. Comes in there. That's probably my little cut area. Comes down, and you can see on here, this is my my sidewalk, or my edge here, and that's my top of my curb, and that's probably the gutter line. Yep, and it just kind of drains away. So yeah, looks good.